Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, the One Piece podcast that's been waiting decades for these flashbacks. We are finally breaking down chapter 1156.
And the title for this one is The King's Friend.
We finally see him. We finally see Rox D. Xebec in his prime, on his throne, laying out his grand ambition to his legendary crew. And the entire plan, his whole dream of becoming king of the world, it hinges on Elbaph. This is it, folks. This is the lore we've been craving.
If you believe, like we do, that every single island in this story matters and every connection Oda makes will pay off someday, you should probably be subscribed to this channel. That way you won't miss the moment we put it all together next week.
Let's do it. The chapter opens and we're not on Hachinosu. We're with a different legendary crew, the Kuja Pirates.
Decades ago, they were considered idols of the sea, not just pirates, but celebrities, which is such a fascinating concept for that era. In a world without social media or widespread Morgan's news, for a crew to have that kind of idol status speaks volumes about their presence.
Right? They must have been on a whole different level. Not just strong, but putting on a show. And the captain isn't Hancock. It's a young Gloriosa, the woman we know as Elder Nyan. She was leading the Kuja, adored by everyone. But the real star, the first mate, was Shakky.
And it seems her beauty and strength were a combination that even Marines and other pirates couldn't handle. She was an undefeated opponent. It paints a picture of someone with an almost supernatural aura, not just a fighter, but someone whose very presence could end a fight before it began. It sounds a lot like a form of Hyoshoku haki, doesn't it? An overwhelming presence that captivates and dominates.
Oh, for sure. A haki of pure charisma. And of course, who shows up wanting to test that legend? The Roger Pirates. They sail right up to the Kuja, not to fight, but to try and just take Shakky for themselves. The absolute audacity of this crew is perfect. It's such a classic pirate move, but it's also so Roger. No subtlety, just pure head-on desire.
It's interesting to see them in this stage of their journey. They're clearly powerful and famous enough to approach the Kuja, but they still have this reckless, almost boyish energy. They hear about the most beautiful, strongest woman in the sea, and their first thought is, we should go get her.
But it's not Roger who's focused on her. The gag here is that Gloriosa is completely head over heels for Roger. She's throwing herself at him, and he's just brushing her off, completely oblivious. He's got his eyes on the horizon, on adventure, and this powerful woman is falling for him, and he just doesn't even see it. It's so perfectly in character for him.
He's like Luffy in that way, focused on the dream, on freedom, and completely immune to romantic advances. But for Gloriosa, this isn't a joke. This is the moment that defines the rest of her life.
This is it. This is the origin of the love sickness. We've heard the legend for years that a past empress fell for a man and died of a broken heart. It was Gloriosa, and the man was Gold D. Roger. Oda, you magnificent man, the setup is pristine. He laid this groundwork way back in Amazon Lily, hundreds and hundreds of chapters ago, and now it pays off. It's just masterful.
It's a beautiful and tragic little loop to close. It adds such a layer of depth to Elder Nyan. Every time she warned Hancock about the love sickness, she wasn't just reciting a legend. She was speaking from the deepest, most painful part of her own experience. She was trying to save Hancock from the very fate she suffered. It's heartbreaking, really.
It totally reframes her character. She's not just a grumpy old lady. She's a former empress who loved the Pirate King and it broke her. But the main event is Shakky. Roger tries to face her, and like most of his crew, he's just stunned. He can't fight. The scene is hilarious. It's just all of them with hearts in their eyes, weapons dropping to the deck. She takes them all down without breaking a sweat.
This scene is more than just a gag. It's establishing Shakky's power level. She incapacitates the future Pirate King's crew, not through a straight brawl, but through her overwhelming presence. It's a testament to her strength that she could command that kind of reaction. She wasn't just a fighter, she was a phenomenon.
Because she's just that powerful and that captivating. But one man on that crew stands tall, the only one who doesn't make a fool of himself in her presence, Silver's Rayleigh. Bro, the Dark King. He's just standing there, arms crossed with this quiet, appraising look on his face. He's not immune, but he's not incapacitated either.
She notices him too. It's not a big dramatic moment. It's a quiet look, a shared glance across a chaotic deck. He's the only one who sees past the overwhelming aura to the person underneath. He sees the warrior, the captain, the will, not just the beauty that brought his crewmates to their knees. He sees the warrior, the captain, the will, not just the beauty that brought his crewmates to their knees.
That's the foundation, right there. That's why they work. He saw her, the real her, from the very beginning. He wasn't just another love-struck idiot. He was the Dark King. And she, in turn, saw someone who wasn't intimidated or starstruck. She saw an equal. That's the whole basis of their relationship, right there, in that one single moment. It's so subtle and so perfect.
It also explains why Rayleigh is the only man Hancock respects besides Luffy. He has experience with the powerful women of Amazon Lily, and he approaches them with respect and understanding, not with awe or lust. He knows their true nature.
And just as this confrontation is happening, everything changes. A lookout spots another ship. It's Garp. Not a fleet, not a buster call, just Garp. And that's all it takes.
The instant Roger hears Garp's name, the entire mood shifts. Shakky is forgotten, the mission is forgotten. The love-struck crewmates snap out of it. There is only one thing on Roger's mind.
He screams at his crew to retreat. The mission to get Shakky is forgotten. The priority becomes the fight with the Navy hero. He literally shoves his own crew out of the way to get to the front of the ship, a massive grin on his face. It's not fear, it's pure, unadulterated excitement.
The two of them clash fiercely as the Kuja use the distraction to sail away. A huge splash, black lightning crackling everywhere. It really sells the scale of that rivalry. Even the allure of someone like Shakky, who just took down his entire crew, couldn't distract Roger from his true obsession, his eternal fight with Garp. That rivalry was the defining relationship of his life, even more than his quest for the One Piece in some ways.
And this is the moment that changes everything for the Kuja. Gloriosa's feelings for Roger become the love sickness. It forces her to step down as captain, and Shakky takes her place. That's how she becomes captain of the Kuja Pirates. It wasn't a planned succession. It was a crisis. A broken heart led to a new leader.
It retroactively makes Shakky's presence in Sabaody so much more significant. She wasn't just a retired pirate. She was the captain of the Kuja, a former empress of Amazon Lily. She held the same title as Boa Hancock.
She's royalty, and she gave it all up to run a bar and wait for her man. That's a love story that rivals any in this series. Think about it. She was an empress leading one of the most famous crews on the sea, and she walked away from it all for love. It makes their quiet life in Sabaody so much more meaningful. What a perfect opening. From there, we jump to a very different island.
We're in Elbaph, and we see a young Prince Loki.
Yeah, and he's not the proud, booming prince we saw in the present day. He's a kid trying to stow away on a boat, and he almost drowns. He's depicted as small for a giant, scrawny, angry. It's such a stark contrast to the image of a giant prince.
The other giants are hesitant to even save him because of his reputation, clearly seeing him as a troublemaker. He's clearly an outcast despite his royal status.
But we get the context for it. Harold, the old giant we met with Saul, is there, and so is a young Hydruden and a giant girl named Ida. And Ida seems to be the only one who gets him. She's the one who dives in without a second thought to save him.
She sees that his belligerent attitude is just a cover. She says he's just lonely. While the other giants see his actions, she sees the motivation behind them. It's a level of emotional intelligence that seems rare in the hyper-masculine warrior culture of Elbaph.
She offers him a place to live with her and Hydruden, a real home, a real family, a place where he can just be a kid, not a prince or a problem. And Loki just lashes out. He completely rejects her kindness.
He accuses her of just wanting to use him, a prince, to live a life of luxury. It's a cruel thing to say, especially to the person who just saved your life and is offering you unconditional kindness.
Hydruden and Harold are enraged. Hydruden is ready to fight him right there. They're ready to defend her honor. But Ida, she just smiles and says he's adorable. She sees right through the tough guy act. She's not hurt by his words because she knows they aren't true. She understands they come from a place of pain.
It's classic defense mechanism psychology. He can't accept kindness because he feels he doesn't deserve it, so he pushes it away by being as nasty as possible. He's testing her. He's trying to prove his own negative self-worth by goading her into rejecting him, confirming his belief that he's unlovable.
And he finally explodes with the truth. He screams that he doesn't need their pity. He hates Elbaph. He says everyone there is weak, and he only wants one thing, to set sail and join Rock's Xebec. That's a bomb to drop in the middle of a village of proud warriors.
To him, Rox represents the ultimate strength, the ultimate freedom from the rules and expectations that are suffocating him. He thinks it's a win-win. He gets to be free with a strong crew, and Elbaph gets rid of its problem child.
But here's the twist. The narration tells us that every time Rox visited Elbaph to recruit Harold, Loki would beg to join him. And every single time Rox said no. He didn't just say no once, he said it over and over and over again.
Okay, but think about what this means. Rox, the man collecting the most dangerous and powerful people in the world, turns down the Prince of Elbaph. Why? Loki, for all his attitude, is still a giant and a prince. He has potential, so why the refusal?
Maybe he saw he was just a kid, or maybe Rox didn't want to anger Harold, the person he was actually there for. He calls Harold his friend later in the chapter. Taking his friend's troubled prince, essentially kidnapping royalty, might have been a line he wouldn't cross. It would have been a diplomatic incident that could have jeopardized his real goal.
It paints a much more complex picture of Rox than we've ever had. He isn't just a monster collecting other monsters. He has priorities. He has relationships. He's capable of strategic thinking. Loki wasn't part of his plan, and he was disciplined enough to stick to the plan, no matter how much power Loki could have potentially offered.
This poor kid, all he wants is to escape, to find a place where his strength is valued, and the one person he looks up to just rejects him over and over. It explains so much about the man he becomes, that desperation, that need for validation. It's so tragic, dude.
From the cold of Elbaph, the story moves to the fire of Hachinosu, Pirate Island.
And it's official. Rox has conquered it. This is his base of operations. The chapter shows he's taken it and made it his own, and the most powerful pirates in the world are starting to flock to his banner. The island is drawn like a nightmare, jagged rocks and dark castles. It's pure pirate anarchy.
We get a new name here, a mobster and hitman named Kyo, who we learn would eventually become known as Silver Axe. He's shown cleaning a massive axe surrounded by piles of treasure, looking completely unimpressed.
Silver Axe, one of the legends from Roger's era, one of the pirates that Sengoku mentioned alongside Shakky and Whitebeard, and it explicitly says he was Shikky's rival, so we have Shakky and his main rival both on the same island, probably sizing each other out before joining the same crew. The tension must have been unbelievable. Just imagine the posturing in that room.
The roster is just a list of future emperors and legends. Charlotte Linlin and Streusen are there. Linlin looking every bit the monster she would become. A young Kaido, even as a teenager, is massive and brooding, clutching his kanabo. Captain John is there, obsessed with treasure. Whitebeard is there, though he's called Newgate here, looking conflicted and serious. And a new face, a catfish fishman named Barble.
What a murderer's row, and they're all gathered in a dark, cavernous throne room listening to their captain, and we finally see him, Rox Xebec, on a throne of black stone. Not a huge man, but his presence fills the entire room. He has that wild hair, that maniacal grin. He radiates an aura of absolute confidence. He's about to tell them the plan.
He says his goal is to become king of the world. He says it so matter-of-factly as if it's an inevitability. And to do that, he needs 2 specific devil fruits.
2 of them, not just one. This is huge. Blackbeard's whole 2-fruit thing might have its origins right here. Maybe Rox was the first person to figure out it was possible, or maybe he needed 2 different users with 2 specific fruits. And the first one, he says, is in Elbaph. He doesn't just want the fruit, he wants Harold to be the one to eat it, saying its true power will only show if he's the one who uses it.
This is huge. A devil fruit that is specifically tied to a person or a lineage? We've never really seen that before. We've seen fruits that seem to choose their users, like Luffy's, but this is different. This is rocks stating explicitly that the fruit's potential is locked, and only a specific person can unlock it. It implies a level of destiny or compatibility that goes beyond just finding a fruit and eating it.
What fruit could it possibly be? It has to be a mythical zone, right? Something connected to Norse mythology and the giants? The Ymir fruit? The Surtur fruit? Something that can only be awakened by a true giant of a specific bloodline. The possibilities are insane.
That seems like the most logical conclusion. But then Captain John speaks up and he mentions the second part of Rock's plan. He's skeptical and he says Rox wants the Galilea.
The Galilea, Linlin with her massive information network, has never even heard of them. Even she, who knows everything about the underworld, is clueless. Newgate scoffs, saying even if they could be brought back to life, they'd have no reason to follow Rox. This is where the pieces click together. Brought back to life, no reason to follow.
Rox says that's exactly why he needs Harold. The devil fruit in Elbaph isn't just for raw power, it's the key. Harold has to eat that fruit to control the Galilea. The fruit doesn't just make him strong, it gives him the authority to command this lost army.
And the Galilea are described as a frozen group of giants. This has to be connected to Oz and his race. Ancient giants preserved in ice somewhere, waiting to be reawakened. This feels like it connects directly to the numbers in Kaido's crew, who we learned were failed attempts by Punk Hazard to recreate the ancient giant race. Rox wasn't trying to recreate them, he knew where to find the originals.
It's an ancient army. He's not just building a crew. He's planning to unearth a weapon that's been lost to time. This is Void Century level stuff. Moria digging up Oz was a pale imitation of this. Rox wanted the whole damn army. He wanted to find a legion of Oz-sized giants and wake them up. This is world-conquering ambition on a scale we've never seen.
This is when Kaido, ever the pragmatist, ever the believer in might makes right, speaks up. He suggests Rox should just go to Elbaph and make Harold submit by force. Why ask when you can take?
And Rox's reaction tells us everything. He doesn't even speak. He moves like lightning, his hand wreathed in black hockey, and immediately attacks Kaido. He strikes down his own crewmate and says with cold fury he would never do that to his friend.
I would never do that to my friend. That one line completely reframes Rox's character. We've been told he was a violent tyrant who ruled through fear and that his crew was constantly trying to kill each other. Sengoku portrayed him as a terrorist who broke world taboos.
And that's probably all true. He just beat up his own subordinate for speaking out of turn. But it wasn't the whole story. He had a line. He had a code. He considered Harold of Elbaph a genuine friend, and the thought of betraying that friendship was enough to make him attack one of his strongest subordinates. This man, who wants to rule the world through terror, has a foundation built on a genuine bond.
It explains how he held that crew together. It wasn't just fear, there was a vision, and for some people, like Harold, there was a real bond. A tyrant is one thing, but a charismatic leader with a code who can command the loyalty of monsters, that's far more terrifying. It suggests that his dream of being king of the world wasn't just about power, but about a very specific vision of how the world should be, a vision that, in his mind, was righteous.
It makes him so much more compelling. He's not just a generic final boss. He's a person with relationships and principles, even if they're twisted. He's a D, after all. They're always complex. They're always challenging the gods, and they often do it for reasons that are deeply personal.
He ends the meeting with a declaration. He points a finger at his crew. Kaido's still recovering on the floor, and he tells them that Elbaph is the key to taking down Mary Joaz.
There it is, the ultimate goal. Not just to be king of the pirates, but king of the world. And the path to the throne of the world runs directly through the land of the giants. It connects everything. The giants, the ancient army, the devil fruit, his friendship with Harold. It's all one cohesive plan.
He gives them an ultimatum. If they don't believe in his vision, they can leave right now. But if they stay, if they follow him, he promises to take them all to the peak of the world. It's a moment of pure, unadulterated charisma. He's offering them a chance to be part of history, to topple the gods.
And we know they all stayed. Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, Shakky, they all saw something in that moment, in that man, that made them believe he could actually do it. For all their future rivalries and betrayals, in that room, on that day, they were the Rocks Pirates. This chapter just delivered the entire thesis statement for the most dangerous pirate crew in history. Super!
It completely recontextualizes the God Valley incident. It wasn't just a chaotic brawl where pirates and marines stumbled upon each other. It was the world government, likely through the Holy Knights, stopping a very specific, very credible plan to overthrow them at its most crucial stage.
A plan that started with a friendship and a devil fruit in Elbaph. Bro, I can't even process all the implications. This flashback is already giving us more than I could have ever hoped for. The layers are just incredible.
Before we get to predictions, Oda's author comment this week was short and sweet. He said he went out for yakiniku with Takahiko and Oe.
The creator of Slam Dunk and Vagabond. Two goats just having dinner. You love to see it. It's so cool that after all these years, two of the greatest mangaka of all time are still just friends who can hang out and talk shop. Imagine being a fly on the wall for that conversation.
It's a nice grounded moment after a chapter that was so full of epic, world-changing lore. It's a reminder of the human element behind these grand stories.
Okay, that was an absolutely legendary chapter. If you have any theories about what the Galalia actually are, or what that special devil fruit in Elbaph could be, definitely drop them for us in the comments. We want to see what pieces you're putting together.
Let's move to predictions for chapter 1157. My first is that we're going to see why Rox needs Harold so specifically. It's not just about friendship or being a giant. I predict Harold is from a specific bloodline, maybe a royal family that ruled the ancient giants, and only someone of his lineage can command the Galalia. The fruit might activate that dormant authority within his blood.
Oh, I like that. A bloodline key. That feels very One Piece. Okay, my first prediction. We're going to see the other side of this. We've seen Rox's plan. Now we're going to see the world government's reaction. I predict we'll see a young Kong, who was fleet admiral at the time, getting the first intelligence reports about Rox's movements on Hachinos, maybe from a very early CP0 agent, and he'll be the one to realize the monumental threat Rox represents, setting the stage for the Garp and Roger team-up.
That would be a great way to build the tension towards God Valley. My second prediction is about the other devil fruit Rox mentioned. He said he needed two. I believe the second one is a devil fruit that belonged to a celestial dragon, and Rox's plan is to raid Mary Joaz to get it. That's why he says Elbaph is the key to taking down Mary Joaz. Step 1, get the army in Elbaph. Step 2, use that army to assault the Holy Land itself and claim the final piece.
A direct assault on the throne. That feels right for Rox. Okay, my last one. It's a character beat. We saw Kaido get put in his place for suggesting force. I predict the next chapter will show us a quiet conversation between Newgate and Rox. Newgate, who we know values family and camaraderie above all else, will question Rox's methods or his trust in Harold, and Rox will give him an answer that shows Whitebeard why he chose to follow him, but it will also plant the seeds for their eventual falling out over different ideals of leadership and family.
A moment that defines their dynamic, showing the crack in the foundation of that monstrous crew. That feels very plausible.
That's our show for chapter 1156, The King's Friend. We'll see you all next week.
We will.